Alrighty then. Little Jim Carrey, for those of you that know the movie. How's it going? Good day. Good day out there. A lot of action again. The small caps haven't slowed down in the slightest. Continue to, melt up in the markets. So a lot of action across the board. What's going on, Sam? Chris in the house. Building off of the conversation there yesterday. How's this going, Jeff? The conversation yesterday of not having to do too much. Oops. Let me see here. Okay. Yeah, so not having to do too much. One trade can make your week, etc. And if something sets up, great. If not, then not forcing it and just waiting for that edge to present itself. Bros, I ended up missing this one. It rolled over late day, just when I'm not on desk. But you can see this all-day consolidation here in the 64s. This daily pivot here in the 63s. But you get this hard crack and test, and then lower highs, prior support becomes resistance. This is an entry all day in my book. Call it 64's entry, risking towards 65's, risk a buck, and you get rewarded with a sub 62 flush. So really nice move. Anyone took that bear flag breakdown trade, you are well in the money at this point. Tesla, absolutely insane. Gap to gap to gap. Elon had bought some shares, like $1 billion worth. He played the breakout through those 360s, 370s. I was contemplating shorting the gap. I felt like everyone who was long was buying on this day. No reason to sell. And now it's gone from 350 to 420. That's ridiculous. So I contemplated the gap, but that same kind of mentality that I don't need to trade everything, but I can pick my spots. Decent win on air. Treat it like a first red day bounce, short after that pre-market panic. Yeah, we'll talk about air. I had a really good day on it, but it doesn't really matter how well I do. Where is it here? Air. It doesn't really matter how well I do. I still get in that mentality that like the one, I don't even like it, the one mistake out of the 10 good things, and I just focus on that one thing because I want to get better. I want to be a good trader, and that's just what I focus on. So it's a bit frustrating, but yeah, I was short there from the 140s. You guys, I think I mentioned my executions there, and I was swinging it overnight. Goal was 140s fails, and we actually got rewarded with a gap up and para into looking left 180s, and I was up a little bit after 4. And by the time I get to my computer and whatnot, it's, 4:15, 4:20, and I see this thing starting to speed up. But there's nothing saying that I'm right in my overnight swing. But what I did do was, sure, I was down a decent chunk near the highs. And what I didn't do was panic and cover. What I did actually do was I scaled in. I added. I've seen this before. Where have I seen this before? I've seen this countless times on these stocks. They go on multi-day moves, have a big top wick, and the pops into those looking left levels are great short opportunities. So I added into 4:30, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 my time, and it never upticked. So I was up a decent amount on the swing shares, plus the ads. And it started fading, and right around 8 o'clock, I was like, okay, this thing's working. No reason to really pay attention to it. I start scanning and looking elsewhere, and literally, like 2 minutes before the dump. And I'm like, okay, I'm in the money. I don't need to worry about it. Stops don't work in pre-market. So when I'm adding and getting above full size, risking more than 1R, then I'm keeping my focus and I'm making sure I'm not going to balloon a loss. But as it's working, okay, it's working. I'll start to look for some other opportunities and see how some stuff's setting up. And right there, it just completely tanks 40, 50 cents in like a couple minutes. And one of my friends, Sam, Turbo from Investors Underground, he pings me in the room and he's like, Dawson, are you still in air? Are you still in your swing? And I said, yes. And it was right around 8:03, 8:04. And he's like, well, look at it. By the time I look at it, it swipes up. I'm like, God damn it. There's a big difference in 120s to 90s. 30, 20 something, 30 cents. That's a big difference in P&L, especially on a $1 name. So I did the best I can with the information at hand and covered about a third of it on the possible higher low. But then I don't like the green engulfing candles. I know if I was watching this, I would have been covering along the way and probably flipped long, because this 98s was drawn on the chart from a long time ago right over here. It's the daily breakout level. So pull back into that level is an A+, morning panic, especially when you get a daily like that. So I know I would have been covering weakness, whether I got a decent execution on the long or not. But this is a easy long setup where I buy it, anticipating the reversal and flip it into the immediate bounce. So I put some back on, thinking that if I was long, I'd be selling into this pop, and now maybe we get bounce sellers. And it did start to roll over, but reclaimed and held up right away. So I completely covered it, all of it right there, and was looking for pops into that 140s, green to red area. Added some in pre-market before the market open, and those were without a stop. I didn't have a risk in mind. This thing could have gone all the way back on me, and I would have let it do its thing. So until market open, there was no reason for me to have any ads. We get the push, failed fall through right here under the 140s, and it goes red. This is the red for the first time in how many days? So I add, and I add, and I add, and I add. And I was fairly sized on this. I was definitely a lot bigger than 1R. I don't even know if I do the math, how many shares I had. I think I probably had maybe 2.5 to 3R if I stopped out over high a day. And then right here, right before 11 o'clock, I'm typically getting off desk, heading out for the day. But I didn't cover it all. I just covered down to a reasonable spot where now I've locked in about 3R. So instead of risking 3R, I covered down to risk 2R off a high a day. So that if this were to come back, I'm still green on the name, but I'm also not emotionally attached because it's not going to turn me red on the day. So I just covered down to an emotionally comfortable spot. If I was still on desk, I don't think I would have taken those covers. I was willing to be fairly patient on this. But then getting in later in the day, 3 o'clock is around noon my time. I thought maybe, okay, I'll take a lunch and I'll go get lunch and take a look at what this stuff is shaping up. And I see it down to the 110s, 1-teens, which the low ones was my goal. So I cover it and up about 7.5R by the end of the day. So don't remember what I made on it yesterday, 2-3R, and then 7R today. So really nice trade, really nice opportunity, and happy with how that one played out. LEU, the other mentionable one, this one here was a swing idea. I had bought it on this day, alerted it in the room, and also showed it on the broadcast or on the the watch list, and was patient the last few days, and it really started getting going. So tomorrow is probably a sell day to start to lock in some, and then trail the rest of that position versus a moving average or something. The 10 is sitting around 214. The 20 is around 201. The 50 is around 210. So probably trail it versus the 10. Risk off of this prior low here, 214-ish area, 213, 214. Set a stop there and look to lock in a piece. I'm up about 3.5 R on that one, about $30 a share. But with the 211 entry, I was risking about $10. So up about 3R on that one. Let me catch up on chat. Thought the biggest range already happened in pre-market. Oh yeah, on air. I could... gotta be careful pulling up Discord. Maybe if I screenshot my comments. I just don't want to go and flip through my chat because it's kind of... Like, I talk with guys in confidence, so I'm fine sharing my comments, but not sharing everything. So right here, I'll just pull up. I'm just going to screenshot my comments here this morning, and then I will pull them up. Just 1 second. Yeah. Okay, so let me pull up this. Just so I can show my comments in real time, because sometimes I feel like on these things, whether I have to prove it to anybody or not, but it's, so if I go here, yeah, so you should be able to read that. I can make it bigger. So this here was 5:09 my time, and I'll go back to the timestamps on the chart, but I was thinking it retests $1 for a cover spot post open, where you saw on air in pre-market it tests prior day's highs and then flushed to the prior breakout level of $1. So I was looking for that rollover towards $1 for the cover spot, and then the next one, where are we here? There we go. And then right there at 518, it should fail off the 140s now, in my opinion. And then the last one was on a different ticker, but we're going to go over that one next, so I will just show it anyways. My thoughts on Atch. This is a multi-day runner from 20 cents to $1.20. So I wasn't treating it as a gapper, even though it was up 100% or so this morning. Do I think it can go red today? No. Therefore, given the attention from the gapper traders, I'll leave it be this morning and treat it as a first red day tomorrow. Usually today's bag holders act as resistance rather than trying to nail the para top. So with that being said, we can go back to air, and basically those 509 and 518 were those two timestamps. So right here, 509 and then 518. So 509 was right there after a couple minutes after my covers, and then a couple minutes after my covers were those two comments. So right here, that's why I had started back in a few minutes later based on that plan. I thought 140s should act as a top. And what did we get? We got it topping out in pre-market. Right off the open, we get a little blowout, slams under it, and then never breaches back over 140 ever again. So that plan worked out to a T. It didn't quite get back to a buck. It did pull into the 110s. So, I mean, 10 cents off is not bad. But yeah, I did also think that this was the range for the day. I didn't think it was getting back over 180s, and I didn't think it was getting back below $1. But I did think that the closer I can get to 180s and the closer I can get to $1 and play the edges of that range. But I was thinking the same kind of thing. What's going on, Boyega? What time are you typically on desk? Does that change when you have opportunities like air? Yeah. Yeah, if I when was it? Last week, I think, when I didn't have I barely traded last week. I think I traded orbs a couple times for the bounce, but outside of that, I don't think I really traded much. And those days I'd get up like between 5 and 5:30 just because I had nothing to prepare for. Most of my ideas come from the night before. So I know going into the next day if there's an opportunity or if there's something I'm going to trade. If I don't go into tomorrow, like as of tonight, if I don't go into tomorrow with a trade idea and trade plans, I don't trade gappers, I don't trade day ones. So what am I going to find that I'm going to trade tomorrow if none of my daily chart big picture scans have hit anything? So it does depend on the opportunity itself. Something like air, like I did think, like I say, I've seen this before. I don't know tickers off the top of my head, but when I saw it, I was down probably 3R up in the 170s. But once it failed off those 180s, I'm like, I've seen this before. This fails. This fails 9 times out of 10. I've seen this happen. So I put on more risk, even though I was down, just because of the confidence and conviction in this thing playing out. But I was up early just because I did have a decent-sized overnight position, and I felt like the opportunity in air today was worth being up for. But from the watch list yesterday, I was watching air and I was watching bros. And I didn't trade bros because it happened late day, and all I traded was air. So that should answer the question. Going into tomorrow, I've got another few pretty good setups going into tomorrow. So I'll probably be up around 4 a.m. again tomorrow, 7 a.m. Eastern. And we'll see. Sometimes it bites me in the butt where I'm up early and I just feel like, okay, I'm up, I need to trade now. But I do my best not to do that. When you're adding off open, are you adding less size or more size? Can you go over your process for adding? I'm assuming you're meaning in terms of like size per candle, because adding inherently is adding more size. But I assume you mean like per arrow, how many shares? So overnight, I had, from what I got to today, probably about a third. Yeah, like a third to a quarter of what I got up to today. Because I was short like 140s, 150 off of 180s, so I was risking 3R on that overnight position. So I had about a third to a quarter. And then here, this was a third to a quarter of what I got to into my highest share position. And then right here, I added a third of what I already had on, and it moved my average. So if I shorted at 167 and I was in at like 147, and then adding a third, my average came up into the 150s. So then I had like 3R off of 180s already, and then adding another third, that was adding another R, 20 cents off of a third, should be just under another R. So I was fairly sized in pre-market, to the point where any of this weakness, I didn't have a new risk level, and the size was starting to get a bit uncomfortable. Even though it is an A plus op, I didn't want to get carried away. So then I covered here a third of that total position. I added back the same ad that was up here, so I was back to full size. And then here I covered 100%. And then here I'm dabbling in 1/5, 1/5. Here, this one, SSR was on at this point, I believe. Or here, SSR was on here. So I shorted some here under the opening range lows and that 140s fail that I wanted to see. So here I was risking 1R off of highs. This candle I was risking 2R off of highs, so I basically doubled the position on this candle. And then SSR was on, so it took a couple minutes to get those fills. But then here I was risking probably, I don't know, what did I say, 2R, 3R off of highs? So I kept adding as the trade is working. As I just showed in my my Discord messages with some of my pod members, I said I think 140s should fail at this point. 140s has failed, and everything I wanted to see has happened. So after this cover and after I was off desk, I put my stop at 141. If this breaks back over 140s and it goes back green, it's no longer a first red day. So my risk was capped, and I wouldn't have lost too much at that point because I had already locked in a decent chunk on the swing, on the morning trade, and on the trade yesterday. So I was already up and nicely green on it, and then risking not too much off of my average. I have a video on July 10th about starter positions and scaling at 18 minutes. I have a video on July 9th. Oh, the video is on July 9th for July 10th watch list. Cool. Yeah, I think I talked about it in down in the description too, in part 2 of the BTheStory interview. It's down in the description, and I go over a trade review on SMCI back in February, one of these days. Might have been this day. I don't know. It was one of these parabolic shorts, but the same setup, just on a different price range. And I went over it there. But yeah, I go over it on here. Basically, I'm grading the setup is number one. And when was the last time we saw a multi-day runner? I think was probably open. I think was probably the last multi-day runner. I can't remember a ton. Like wilds, pretty choppy. Like we've had a few that have moved, but nothing that has been gap to gap to gap to gap and not gone red by that. So basically, I'm grading the setup as number one, and I deem this to be a grade setup based on volume. It's trading hundreds of millions of shares a day. It hasn't gone red in 1, 2, 3, 4 days, today being day 5. Volume is continually increasing, range is continually expanding, and we've got bag holders from the day prior. So I'm deeming this an A grade setup. Therefore, I want to give it A grade risk, and I'm not risking 1R on an A grade setup. So I was willing to swing the bat hard and size up a little bit on it within proper risk parameters, of course. But then my ads are always based on a new risk level. I'm not just going to continue to add as this is going higher, 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 because then you're getting a full size stop out when it finally breaks 180s. Like I didn't have to be right. So I put on my position, was going to stop out if it went back over 180s. Didn't really have a stop in mind. I wasn't sized for anything. 180s wouldn't have hurt at all. I would have just given back my realized. But now we've got a push, we've got a green fail, we've got a crack red, we've got opening range lows, we've got a 140 fail. Like, how many things are lining up? We failed to go green, first time going red, 140 key level fail, low a day break. Like, it's just like things are lining up. So I'm going to add. This trade is now working. Now I've got a new risk level. It's failed off of 140s. I'm going to add. So every time now I'm not risking 180s, now I'm risking high a day. Now I'm not risking high a day, now I'm risking 141. And now I have that room. The trade is working, and you're basically making your own risk reward, like, so to speak. Where, sure, I can short here, risk off of 180s, 1R, and I've got 130s, cover later, make 20 cents. But it doesn't, like, I'd be risking 40 cents to make 20 cents. It's just a negative risk reward, but I can start, I can add, and now I'm risking 10 cents, and now I'm risking 4 cents. So now you're risking 4 cents, but with the same dollar size. So you can really scale in, and so I hope that makes sense. And I don't know exactly what I talked about in those videos there that Stuff and Such is mentioning, but he's taken some notes on those and put some of that stuff in the comments section. So I believe what he's saying, and feel free to check that out. The watch list for September 10th or for July 10th. So I think that's enough on air. Just really wanted to drive home that opportunity. I talked about Lou, probably sell some of that and then trail the rest. Wilds, I did mention that on the watch list. It was the first time going red today. It failed under this higher low trend this morning, but I didn't take it. I was focused on air. You did get hard crack, a little bouncing ball until it finally rolled over. So any entry under these lows a day in the 830s, risking versus highs or a previous bounce high or something. Not terrible risk reward, but just wasn't A grade by any means. GoPro did push up into those 240s. So ideally, this boom, 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 and then starts to consolidate. Open did the same thing, where it went boom, 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 straight up into that looking left. Maybe it rests for a little bit before re-breaking out. So nothing I will trade on GoPro, but ideally it chills out for a little bit. Tesla, I'm just going to keep an eye on Tesla because this is moving. Some of like the electric vehicle space and stuff, like Pony is starting to come back a little bit. Wolf, I think, is getting tagged along with Tesla. This one I do have on watch into tomorrow because it's now gone from 150 to 3. We've got overhead resistance and this volume isn't encompassing it. So I think there is a possible first red day in this using prior daily resistance. Would definitely need to get today's bag holders. Longs from today as bag holders, get them on the wrong side. So not, this would be like C plus to B grade setup. It's not A grade by any means, but I think would be worth putting on 1R risk and seeing if it would work. It's had a good history of backside fades when it does want to pull back, so I will keep that one on watch. Atch, we can go over this one now. My thoughts there I shared from my Discord messages. With the 20 cent to 120 move, I felt like there was range on this, but based on what's being rewarded in the current market, if you look at air, it parabolic from 140 to 180, pulled back but chopped around the rest of the day. So I felt like until something changed with that, I didn't think Atch was going to change the reaction to the market, because like the price action is based off of market participants. So if market participants aren't rewarding these parabolic setups for pullbacks, then I didn't think the trade setup was today. Now, if you shorted this parabolic or any of the ensuing lower highs, hard crack, lower high, hard crack, lower high, you were rewarded as long as you covered, whether you covered here, covered any of these higher lows, you were rewarded with a gain. But all in all, I felt like my read on it was correct. If this starts to lose, like this 80 cent area would be airs for 140s, where it's prior day support to become resistance, and atch, that would be these 80s, where you get prior support to possibly become resistance. This is definitely up enough percent wise. There is some earnings risk that could come out at any point. I think they have to report before the 29th of September. So just keep that note in mind if you are swinging this or looking to swing it. Just keep in mind that earnings catalyst could come at any point. But multi-day runner, first time it goes red and starts to fail prior day's levels, I think could get hit. What I do like is a lot of this gap and volume put in the top end of this range, that if it starts to lose 80s, there's plenty of room down lower, possibly back to like 50s. So looking good over there. OPI, I think it's like a mortgage name, or it's Office Properties Income Trust. So it's some sort of a commercial real estate thing. But this one here running from 20 cents to $1. Daily chart wise, looks good enough. Hasn't really gone parabolic, so to speak. But the 4 EMA is sitting sub 60s, and it's ran from 20 cents to $1. So maybe they're holding this up into the FOMC meeting on Wednesday. But I do like this daily setup. Hasn't had any other volume to gauge its price action off of. So I will have to trade this one more so in a vacuum. Bros, ideally that one continues to fade off. MTVA, percent gainer today. Just watching it as a percent gainer. VGZ, same kind of thing where it's starting to speed up. It's a gold name. They typically don't have this range, but gold is starting to push quite a bit. So volume expanding, range expanding, but I don't love it. C grade setup, so probably just avoid it, but keeping it on watch regardless. So main watch probably being Atch tomorrow, and then Wolf and OPI being the other two, and then look to manage Lou. Air, if this were to panic back into the 90s, I'd probably look to bounce that back into the 120s. What would be really nice is if this could fade for another red day and then get a backside bounce out of it. But we will see. So Pop's there at after hours. Makes me think that there was some news, but I'm not sure. Just trying to see. So if I go settings, there we go. I don't know what's going on. This Wi-Fi is driving me nuts. never have any problems um, with trading itself on this Wi-Fi, and then as soon as I pop up this YouTube thing, I get the warning, and it's just driving me nuts. So oh well. Hopefully the recording's good enough, but I don't have a ton else to say. So hopefully the recording comes out okay. I'll post it right after this, but main watches will be Atch, OPI, and Wolf. Keep Air on watch because it's a nice clean multi-day runner. Lou, continue to manage that position. And that's about all I got. So take it easy, guys, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.